G'day guys, review again this week, not live again. I took the internet out this week. I think some huge companies were taken down, and Restream, the company I used to send out to a few different places at once, was completely cast. Has only just come back up, but it's a bit late. So I thought it's easier just to go through the races this way again. Hopefully the live reviews will be back next week. I might even try and do a preview later in the week. This week going on a Friday or something, we could catch up and chat about some races. Sydney again, it was great day's racing for the Everest, the rail and the +3. I didn't think it was overly biased in any way. I think the track race pretty firm, probably sort of 3 to a little bit firmer than that. That's sort of fine. I think it's a bit weird that they've stopped talking about it. I guess if they upgraded it to a 2 or a 3, there'd be trainers getting a bit grumpy about the surfaces being too firm, but leaving it at a 4, everyone seems okay with it. So, jockeys are saying that the tracks feel reasonably, nice underfoot. So, it is what it is. Race 1, the Reginald Allen. A bit of a weird race here. They went slightly above standard out to the 800-metre mark, pulled up to slightly below standard, so a little bit of an anchor drop by the 600-metre mark, and then they came home slow here. Panova looked visually impressive coming from the back and running on strongly, but not much merit in the back end of this race. Like I think the winner itself's only come home sort of 2 lengths above standard from the 600-metre mark, coming from a rearward position and putting a margin on. So that's a bad sign. Samarel was okay. It was a little bit unlucky to get out sort of at point and get going, but it really did have its chance and looked quite one-paced. Chatterley was a little bit the same, held up, but still just okay, I thought. Miles of Glory sat 3 wide with cover, but was still very plain. Schnitzel Dancer, even though it sort of worked early and full of love, being wide, no cover, they were beaten a long way, but yeah, the race itself looks pretty steady. I'll be very, very wary of the form coming out of this race. There just wasn't much there, I didn't think. They all look very, very average. I'm not saying Panova doesn't have a future, but this race, going up in grade especially, I'll be very, very wary. Race 2, the St. Ledger, they absolutely walked here about 20 lengths below to the 800-metre mark and retained that to the 600-metre mark. 6 lengths above coming home for a really slow time, but they're not going to come home a lot quicker than this for a, 2,600-metre race. Definitely weird hearing that a post-race Waller came out and said that his tactician told him to not put any pressure on the leader and let McDonald go to the front and control, and they'd outsprint him. One of the smarter things I've heard from any stable post-race. Would have loved to have heard it pre-race, but good luck to them. They did the right thing here. It did look in the run like they were trying to hand the race to James McDonald, but he never really had the horse under him to take off, and the horse went very plainly. It actually didn't parade that well either, so not unsurprising. But, Travolta got the win. I want to show the replay desperately of the head-on to ask your thoughts on whether you thought there should have been a protest here from Etna Rossa against Travolta. The stewards report did mention that they had a look and deemed it not suitable to bother throwing in a protest again, which I thought was insane considering to the eye it looked like Etna Rossa won the race clearly and just got heavily outbobbed, and only a very slight margin where it certainly copped a reasonable bump. Definitely did get impacted by Travolta. So yeah, I thought that was the main talking point of the race. Other than that, it was basically a sit sprint. Nothing. Morfellons, Soul of Spain, Etna Rossa and Travolta all went fine. Asterix, Don Diego, they all went fine. Probably the disappointment of the race was Sam Hawkins, definitely a very one-pace type. Where does this form go? I'm not really sure, but sort of pass marks to the top 4. Travolta, paraded well, still continues to thrive, so no reason it can't continue racing well. Same for Soul of Spain. So, yeah, these horses can definitely go to a sort of country cup, I'd say, and be dangerous, but just very hard to line it up when they go so slow, and it's basically a 3 furlong sprint over 2,600 metres. Race 3, the Vivier race, what was that? No clue. It was at the Big Dance wildcard, I think it was. Yeah, the Mighty Swift Falcon here, just a complete nightmare. They go out about 4.5 lengths below to the 800 and maintain that to the 600. Then it's a sprint home. Again, the replay is really important here. Just watching what Ethan Brown does on the winner, Vivier, in comparison to what Dylan Gibbons does on Swift Falcon. He's just far more passive at the start. He's far more passive at the time. By sort of working up to the 400-meter mark, he's just far too passive. So, yeah, he's run the fastest last 8, 6, and 4 of the day. That is adjusted to distance, but yeah, he's run the fastest 8 to the 4, 8 to the 2, 6 to the 4, 6 to the 2, 4 to the 2. Only did he get a little bit tired late here. He still ran clearly the best last 200 of the race, but did slow down and peak in his run. Cost him the race, but still a strong effort. He's a complete nightmare. What do you do with him? That was definitely his race on a class alone. He was entitled to beat those horses, and with a little bit more positive ride, he would have, or if Ethan Brown was asleep at the wheel. So his effort's good. The problem is his racing pattern's causing him to lose far more races than he'll ever win. So, yeah, Hooligan Tommy was good in this class. I thought he continues to race well and likes a wet track, which he didn't get here. I thought Redstone Well went fair enough first up. I think More Jude really and truly has proven that it's not a miler. Probably needs to go back in distance with a stronger rider again. That was about it for the Big Dance qualifier for me. What do we got next? The Ag Stakes. Yeah, this horse is just airborne. I guess it's hard to knock that it runs out a strong mile. It definitely does. Parfumist had a bit in its favour last start. It's gone enormous again here. They've gone about 3.5 lengths above to the 800, slowed that down to 2.2 above by the 6, and then come home 2.2. So it's quite a fast time overall. They never really slowed down, and Idle Fly was able to sort of maintain a run from the 600-metre mark, coming around them and stretch away and win quite well. So there's not many horses in the country going better than Idle Fly for me. The Muffs, I don't know, but they work out here in races when they're fast-run races, and this horse is certainly capable of maintaining a long sprint. Parfumist, as you said, has just gone huge again. The horse is absolutely flying. Limnia got the back of the winner and certainly did a good job and is going well enough. No knock, Verona Rose, Churchill's Choice, Sweltering. I think they can all win races if they're placed well. Tricky to catch. I think Sweltering needs a much more positive ride. Certainly this race was a bit quick for it, but they're all going okay. I thought Dominetta was a little bit disappointing. I thought, a faster tempo maybe bring out the best in her, but she was a bit soft. So, yeah, I think that race is a good, strong race. If horses are dropping back out of it to a lesser grade, they should perform well, and if they're going up in grade, they're worth looking at also. So the Yank Stakes was pretty strong. Race 5, the Kosciuszko. This was a weird race. They went way too fast. They go sort of 4 lengths above to the 8, and they keep that pressure and actually speed up 5.5 to the 6. I think Big Bad Billy got a little bit carried away on So Magnificent early and sort of just put himself to the sword there. Bit strange that Bandy's Boy and Highway Strip, both from the Danny Williams yard, both raced completely erratically, especially off such a fast tempo. Just basically the jockeys couldn't hold them. Very strange for two horses from one stable to both act up so poorly. It was weird, especially for horses that are well, established. So very strange there. I'm not really sure of what the explanation is. Front Page got carved up on speed. He's a natural on speed horse. You could see he was just sort of a thorn. Had thorns coming at him from everywhere. Had Apaches coming at him from everywhere. So he was driven mad, and he did a pretty good job. Gallant Star was 3 wide with cover and did a good job, stuck on really well. Chidiac was very well ridden. Good horse. Just interesting. Had quite a tough prep, so it'd be interesting to see if he can come back and improve. Could knock over a race like this, certainly in the future. So your Pence was very good late. Reverse parked and just got caught wide, and then got going again late with Listomania, who closed from the back. So, a lot of good runs here. This form is very difficult to work out where it can go to. Haven't even spoken of the winner, Clearly Thinking, who was excellent from the back. Everything worked out really well for it with the blinkers. That fast tempo early allowed her to go back and relax. She just got all the runs through, but, she was going well enough to take them, which is a great key to being able to carve through horses, through the middle of horses. It's very difficult if you're not going well enough, and she certainly was and won very softly in the end. Clearly the best horse in this race, with Front Page probably on the back 9 of his career. So, I think they were definitely the two classy runners. Gallant Star's just honest as always, and Chidiac, maybe a horse of the future. It's a fairly lightly raced horse with a bit of upside. So, yeah, it's difficult to work out where these horses will go and trying to line them up. But yeah, no knock on the form from this race. Pretty strong. Race 6 was the, what do they call it now? I'm calling it the Tats Lightning. I think it's called the Sydney Stakes. Expensive race. What is it? 2 mil? 2 million? Kosciuszko's 2 million. Wow. Yeah, Rothfire, really strong win. Worked early, but a great ride sort of popped in and still just a very strong win late. Iona Merck looked the winner for a few strides, every chance, very good ride there, and did a good job second up with Your Blessings, just racing so well. Had a nice run in transit, stuck on nicely. Libertad was good first up. Caballas was just an absolute tragedy. Run some really fast sections here. Second fastest last 6 and 4 of the day. Again, peaked late. 13th fastest last 200, but 6th fastest last 800. So, yeah, some really fast sections in there. Just dragged out at the start. I'm sure it was a plan, but, just you can't give up 20 lengths in these races. They went out about 3 lengths above to the 8 and the 6 and come home a little bit slower than that. What are we saying? 3.5, increased the tempo to the 6 and then only a length slow. So the time's fast. The race is strong. Caballas was huge. Coal Crusher was good from the front, stuck on well. Straka was held up and, just lost momentum a couple of times in the straight and did a good job. Disnick was held up a few times too and ran some fast sections in there as well. So Fire Star wasn't bad ridden back. This is a strong race. There's not a lot between a lot of these horses. And I actually thought Shah of Goma was worth a mention. Wide no cover the whole way, sort of got lost around the bend and in the straight, but got going again late, just didn't give up. So back to Brisbane or an easier race than this. Shah of Goma is definitely in good enough form to pick up a race in the next few weeks. Again, I think this race is strong enough to carry over to similar races. It's all dependent on the horse, obviously, but about the first 7 or 8 across the line have all had strong enough performances to say they can go to something similar and win. Generosity, the favourite, was just ridiculously short here and did a decent job, but had its chance. So just, I'd be forgetting the SP price of Generosity sort of heading forward, but it definitely was a solid enough effort in a strong enough race. Beauty Charge missed the start badly and was a complete forgive. Race 7, the Everest. This all pretty much went to plan, or that's if you're a Car-Yung Rising lover. It was just an absolute wet dream. Just landing in that perfect position right behind the speed. They did go a little bit quick, about 3 lengths above to the 800, and they steadied that tempo to the 600, about a length above, and then a length above coming home. So they've run fast time or solid time. Yeah, no knocks on pretty much anything in this race. Car-Yung just landed a perfect spot, was very well ridden, and it looked a different horse to the trial. It looked a different horse in a couple of gallops since the trial, and they just timed his effort to the minute really, and Zach rode a perfect race. The horse responded and was just too strong. Tempted was great, really strong through the line. I was really worried about that 3-year-old filly form, but or 3-year-olds in general, and she's sort of proven that top level at least might be a chance going forward, which is good to see. She was strong. Jimmy Star, what a nightmare for people who backed Jimmy Star last start. They rode him upside down or closer to the speed in a fastish run at Everest when they dragged him out of the race last start in the lead up, sort of 15 lengths off the lead or something crazy. It just proves that it just not warranted. Those wide draws can be offset by positivity, and they were sort of a lot slower run races than the Everest. So, yeah, pretty frustrating for people who've been backing Jimmy Star his last couple, especially last start. But his effort was good. Overpass was really good in front. Controlled the speed, but not beaten far. And, was running a place for 98% of the straight. So a good effort from Overpass. Jolly Star, Angel Capital, Lady Shenandoah, they all had little excuses. So did War Machine. Sort of all got a buffeting. And I don't know whether Lady Shenandoah sort of got cut neat or just sort of got a bit over racing and caused a bit of carnage between the stablemates. Angel Capital ran the second fastest last 200 of the day, I believe. No, it's been downgraded. So he ran the fastest last 200 of the race, but that last section and his section in general has been updated. So the time might be a little bit out there. Be careful about that, but still a very strong performance from Angel Capital. I'm assuming he'll go back up in trip off the back of this, and he'll be very hard to beat in a 1,1400 metre race next start for sure. Jolly Star was fine, but she sort of never liked the horse, never thought she was a dominant horse. Thought her effort was good first up. Maybe she just wasn't at her best. She just might be an absolute gun fresh horse. Lady Shenandoah definitely copped a bit of mid-race interference and got keen and did a few things wrong and obviously wasn't beaten far. Briassa was ridden back and went okay. I think that's about as good as Briassa goes. Marzu was a week late as suspected. War Machine was probably the most disappointing run in the race. Just never really got warm and just couldn't keep up with them when they went to sprint. Jetabil and Magic Time did great jobs, I thought, especially Jetabil through the line, very strong. Didn't think it was a horse that would run a strong 1,200 metres, but thing is with him, he sort of needs to be that little bit closer and you can't use him at both ends in a 1,200, which is pretty much the key to him being able to win these sorts of races. And that's why he struggles. And Magic Time was fine, sort of back and wide and horse widest in the straight. Great Everest all around, and it's all merit to the winner, but some really nice runs in behind. Silver Eagle, watching this live, you were just like, well, what's he doing on linebacker again? Really indecisive ride, didn't know whether he wanted to go forward or back, and then he's sort of stuck in no man's land. He's done that a few times on this horse, and the horse has had some poor draws, but again, I'd love to see Nash on this horse or someone similar. Stuck wide the whole way, but they did go slow. So there were a couple of wins here where they sat wide, and Kerguelen in the last was similar, and you're like, what the hell? That's just not possible. But they went about 3.5 to 4 lengths below to the 800 metre mark, slowed down to 4.5 below by the 600 metre mark, and then zipped home sort of 3.5 lengths above for a slightly below standard time, but a fast last section. So I think the race is pretty good. The winner was dominant, completely dominant. Sabaj was a complete forgive, really weird ride, just never let any urgency to get to the outside or get into the clear, and just sort of wished and washed around back there. Point and shoot was huge again, but obviously a complete nightmare of a creature and keeps missing the start. I thought Shangri-La Spring showed that he's ready to win now. He'll probably go to a mile or, I assume he'll go to the Golden Eagle now on his way to probably a little bit further, and he can give a sight there. If he found a race where he can control the speed, he can run a cheeky race. I wish it was Rose Hill for him, but around Rose Hill, around Randwick even, he can run a cheeky race. Depth of Character was a complete forgive. Gerringong found trouble. So there was some trouble found in behind in a really pretty weird-looking race. Mayfair and Lord Penguin were at least pass marks. They had their chance, but they were both pretty good, and Mayfair was obviously only first up. Pardon me. Highland Queen was all right for a sort of a pass mark first up by two I think, off a really slow tempo. I don't know if there are any excuses for Raikkonen and stablemate. Sorry, just bear with me. Raikkonen began only fairly crowded, wasn't even vet checked. That's weird. And Imperial Force wasn't either, so we're not sure about those ones. Race 9, going back there, I think Silver Eagle and, maybe Sabaj if you draw a longbow. Could be capable of winning the Silver Eagle. You talk about Shangri-La Spring too, but it would need things to go its way. Definitely linebacker is a leading player there with Angel Capital and Autumn Glow. George Main Stakes. Bit of humble pie here for me. I did happily say on Little Birdie that I thought it was a pie in the sky that Chael Wolf could be improved significantly so deep into its prep with blinkers on. Heard him say post-race that he'd never put the blinkers on this horse before, so I don't know how he expected it to sort of jump out of the ground like it did, but too good, Joe Pride. He got it absolutely right. This horse just burst through the line the last 100 metres. There wasn't a lot of merit in that last 100 metres, but the horse looked good visually and ran away from a pretty good field, so very difficult to sort of knock the horse, that's for sure, but it did have a nice run in transit, super strong late. The race itself, they sort of went about 2 lengths above to the 8 and 6 and come home about 1.5 lengths below. Definitely not the deepest, strongest race in the world. Actually, they went a little bit quicker than it sort of said, about 2 above and come home about 1.5 lengths below. So slightly above standard at the time. It just did look like one of those weird races where sort of Pride of Jenny was going to be hurting the favourites, Mr. Brightside and Fangirl, with a likely fast tempo. Then she didn't jump clean and didn't look herself. She really looks like she's looking for 2,000 metres plus. But, she never got running, but, it still sort of played out that way. Fangirl was a little bit plain. Mr. Brightside was his usual absolute honest self, chasing and sitting outside lead. A good effort. Pierre and Pericles both improved, like probably suggested they would run very well here. It was just that sort of race that they were going to get the right runs. Tom Kitten was better from the back. He was good. Fangirl was just plain, I thought. Yellow Brick was not too far away. that's what scares me about this race. It was quite bunched. Within the Law was not far away with a blood in one nostril. El Costello was right there. Lake Forest obviously not at his best and copped a bit of interference as well. So smelly race for me, and I'm not sure if this is definitely going to be the A1 weight for age form going forward into races like the McKinnon or wherever these horses are going to go. It's tricky. I think there's a Champions Mile or something like that as well, which is probably where a few of these runners will go. Just to jury out a little bit, the winner went Too Good to Be True for mine. Not really sure what happened there, but Too Good Joe Pride. And, Pride of Jenny definitely looks like she's looking for at least 2,000 metres to me. She was just too relaxed, if anything, which is really difficult to fathom for a horse like her. She stuck on okay. Yeah, just a bit tricky this race. I'm not sure. I think Mr. Brightside's definitely reached his peak in life too, but he's very, very, very honest still. It's just he doesn't have that killer blow except for last time out where he just was gifted the race. The lucky last, and I thought Kerguelen was just too good to be true here, but it does make sense looking at the times now that he was able to sit wide, no cover, and if anything, well timed, sat outside it and ran very well too. So strange race to finish the day. They went about 4 lengths below to the 800, slowed down even more between the 8 and the 6, which again allows those back markers and horses that sat wide to just get into the race. If you make it a sprint from the 800, they've still got to maintain that effort sort of wide and chasing. If you just sort of pack up shop and allow them to get into the race cheaply, you're really handing them a very strong chance of still winning, which is what happened here with Kerguelen. Way too good. I thought 1,400 on a dry track was not ideal for him, especially from the draw, but he overcame everything. Well-timed, ran well again. Lord of Biscay looked the winner and sort of just didn't go on with it. Very, very well back, Lord of Biscay. I can't find the horse personally. Rock Empire was okay in behind the leader. Serati was a tragedy. Not sure if he would have won or not, but would have liked to have found out. Very unlucky. Landed in a nice spot in the run and then just was a train wreck from the 600-metre mark. So forgiving there. Hollywood Hero was okay. Fresh. World Alliance found a few troubles and didn't quite get a chance to hit the line green. Shadow similar. Sergeant Major was ridden more forward and went poorly. He had a fixed sort of loom for about 100 metres and couldn't go on with it. And Private Legacy, I thought, was a pass mark first up. But the race itself, very smelly, slow tempo, and they didn't really zip home. The winner looked dominant, but I'd be hesitant to follow it with any confidence. Well-timed was good from back and wide, and those horses that had the soft runs, I'd be worried about them. I think the race is, definitely just okay for this level, and I don't think it'll carry too high up into from here. Let's just put it that way. If I can find the sheets, I'll have a quick look at a few of the sheets. Where would you be? I can just do it off here. We'll have a quick look at Caulfield. Mainly the Cup, to be honest. They went about 22 lengths above in the Cup and 17 lengths above to the 600 metre mark, come home about 10 below. So the winner's good. The winner's shown... I thought it was going to be more of a sit sprint, but obviously Adelaide River just took off before acceptors and really busted the race up there and made it a staying test, which brought the likes of Valiant King into the race. River of Stars was good as well. So you would expect those horses to run well going to the Melbourne Cup. Presage Nocturne was okay. Royal Supremacy was okay. Not sure about it over that extra distance. Birdman was okay. Absurd was unlucky. Maydan stuck on. Is this the form for the Melbourne Cup? It probably is this year, which is scary. Will the winner run 3,200? I'd be very hesitant. The third horse, I would say, is the main challenger from this race personally, but would have to have a sort of another second look at and sort of tackle these horses like Maydan and Presage Nocturne. With the Melbourne Cup in particular, was sort of just assessing them on this race, and then you've got to go back and have a look. The Japanese horse was disappointing. Golden Snap. Land Legend was beaten a long way. I'm not sure what happened there. Revelare was beaten a long way too, and I think it had cardiac arrhythmia. So did Adelaide River, which is understandable after setting a track record sort of tempo up front. So, I'm not sort of jury's out on whether this form is good for the Melbourne Cup, whether Half Yours can run 3,200 metres. The horse relaxes, it's an interesting horse, but it's just had such a long, slow preparation that it's difficult to work out whether it's going to be topped out here or not. And when I say slow, I mean sort of spaced, not slow. Tricky. What else can we talk about? The 1,000 Guineas, they went sort of 6 lengths below there and come home quick. So, yeah, Ole Dancer, really great ride from Blake Shin to take the initiative to sit outside of Apocalyptic, who did control the race and had a chance. And Ole Dancer was just too strong on the day. Private Eye controlled the speed completely, 2.5 below, down to 4.3 below, and just made it a non-event there. A classy horse that was handed the race on a platter. Abounding in the last, a very even tempo, but slow tempo there, just a poor race. And Abounding was able to come back from the back and sort of round them up. Ray Magnario was able to run on from the back off a fastish tempo, just slightly above average, really. And, a nothing special race there. Stretton Angel was able to swoop in an average race. Tentyrus is probably the most interesting and strongest winner of the day for me. Even tempo, and then they've actually come home quick. So whilst it looked like Raging Force was stopping it, it really wasn't. And Tentyrus is able to go about 8 lengths above standard, which on a day they didn't run ridiculously fast closing sections, except for the 1,000 Guineas and the Moonga where they went slow. This was off a steady to even to slightly below average tempo, only because they were going fast the whole way and got faster. And this horse was able to sort of get knocked over, pushed to the outside and build. And, man, Raging Force was just home for your life. And this horse mowed it down and ran away from it. So, yeah, I would be absolutely astonished if this horse is not competitive in a Coolmore. Obviously, the Baywhack form looks good now with Tempted running very well in the Everest. But, and then you got sort of Beedman and Raging Force and who else is going to be there? Snow, what's my favourite horse? Skyhook. He'll be there too. It's going to be a great race, the Coolmore. Straight's the only thing I think is tricky for Tentyrus. I think if it was sort of Randwick or around a bend or Flemington around a bend, not many bends at 1,200 metres around Flemington, but if it was, I think Tentyrus would win. I think it's just a machine. I thought that win was astronomically big. I thought it was huge. So, as much as Baywhack might have to reproduce that effort it did at Rose Hill. So, yeah, great race upcoming. Spicy Lou completely controlled the Ethereal and didn't sprint home. That was a poor race. Autumn Mysteries race was disgusting. 17 lengths below to the 800, 15.5 below to the 600, and they sprinted home, minorly. They didn't sprint home at all in the Ethereal. So, those fillies form, that 3-year-old fillies form continues to look very, very average. Ole Dancer and Apocalyptic was solid off a slow speed. That's definitely the stronger of the two form lines, but overall, it's looking very weak. So that was pretty much Melbourne. Sorry again, I couldn't do the live. Looking at races coming up this week, there's just too many. So what I'll do is I'll try and commit tentatively, either Thursday evening or Friday evening, probably Friday evening, just because the schedule's a bit hectic. I'll come on and do a live and we'll chat about the upcoming races. We'll talk about Saturday's races. Seems like the easier play. I don't think there's too many futures sort of plays that are to nail down anyway this week. Should be interesting. But, the Sir Delius, I'm still getting over it from a futures perspective. Interesting to see a lot of people's different arguments coming in that, the bookies should get a reprieve too. It's true, it's not in the rules, and it's definitely not gospel that they have to repay punters, but I just feel that it was a situation that shouldn't have got to the one that it's in, because if you don't have a number in the barrel and you're paying for your raffle ticket, it's a very tough situation for any punter to swallow. So, yeah, it was fate that this horse was never going to run in the race, yet punters were able to bet on it up until, a few days ago. So that's a sad situation for Sedelius and its backers and owners in the stable. Hopefully he'll get his chance, which is unclear because no one really understands what the issue was, or whether it's one that can heal, or whether it's one that sort of, they grow out of or anything like that. Horses, bones and density obviously changes as they get older, just like humans. Very interesting. Anyway, Everest week. Hope everyone found a winner. It was tough on Saturday, unless you like the favourite. Swift Falcon was brutal, and so was Apocalyptic for the old multi-madness. If both of them had won, we would have done some damage. But alas, we'll be back late week this week, and we'll be on the attack. Cheers, guys, and thank you so much. Sorry for all the issues. Hopefully we can work through them over the next few weeks and get a better product back out. But for the time being, we'll work with what we've got, and we'll keep on chipping away. Cheers.